Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the Prime Minister of Bhutan, a very happy man from the world's happiest country. Grateful to have you, Prime Minister, and I thank you from the side of the millions of NDTV viewers. Grateful to have you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Nikunj.
As I said, it's not every day that a leader with your kind of background, both educational and experience. His Excellency has actually been a civil servant. He is one of the few first civil servants in the Bhutanese society who crossed over to the political side, had a very successful run, has been the Prime Minister of the country before as well. And this is his second stint as the Prime Minister of Bhutan. Prime Minister, you have a very interesting educational background too. You have studied at Pittsburgh, 4 years at Pittsburgh, and then you have a master's from Harvard. A thought came to my mind that how have you used that education, that American exposure, that education at your very young age to help transform the society here or add value to the society here in this country, in Bhutan and otherwise?
Thank you, Nikunj. Delighted to be here. And I want to congratulate you and your entire NDTV team for putting together the World Summit. And congratulations on the inaugural summit. Who better than Prime Minister Modi to launch the summit? I am honored also and humbled, deeply humbled, to be included in your inaugural summit. I can see the summit grow from strength to strength. God knows the world needs NDTV and the World Summit.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
The question you asked about how did the University of Pittsburgh and then the University of Harvard, where I spent a year, how did they mold me to serve my country? Fair question. But the better question would be, how did India mold me to serve my country? I'll tell you a secret. In fact, my Bhutanese colleagues here also don't know. I was born in India.
That's a secret you didn't share with many.
1965, I was born in Kalimpong. My father was serving in Kalimpong when my parents were serving, because I was born there, right? And what molded me to serve my king, my country, and my people would have been not necessarily Pittsburgh and Harvard, but Dr. Graham's homes in Kalimpong, in West Bengal. I studied 11 years in India. And you ask me how 4 years in America has molded me. You should be asking how.
Well, that's a secret you are revealing now, Prime Minister.
No. It's okay, fair. I'm not a celebrity, so you wouldn't know where I studied. But the fact of the matter is, my formative years, not just my birth, but my formative years was in India. From kindergarten school, from baby class till class 10, I studied in India, as indeed many other Bhutanese studied in India those days, because we did not have enough schools in Bhutan. But when we did establish schools, we did not have enough teachers, and those teachers came from India. And so we grew up under the tutelage, under the guardianship, and in my case, especially so because it was a boarding school, almost under the parentage of Indian teachers. And I do believe they have taught us well, because we have been able to go back home and serve our king, our country, and our people, and continue to do so.
Prime Minister, you also talked about the Indian tutelage and you talked about the summit. So the topic of the summit is India Century. And how do you think, going forward from here, Prime Minister Modi's historic third innings, how do you think, we take off from here and how do we shape or influence the events that are happening world over? Not only as our own footprint of India's century, but as the Prime Minister said, that world's progressive, peaceful century.
The world needs India. And I'm very happy that you've identified this century as India's century. You asked me about Prime Minister Modi and his historic third term. Why do you call it India's century? For many reasons. India has the largest population now in the world, 1.45 billion. It's growing. It's projected to reach something like 1.6 billion.
That's right.
India has a booming economy. It's crossed $3 trillion US. It should have crossed $5 trillion US had it not been for COVID. India has the biggest consumer base. India has almost 35 million successful people in the diaspora throughout the world, particularly in the advanced countries. By every measure, yes, this is India's century. But by one measure, you stand out, and that is leadership. India's leadership. And trust in that leadership. Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership. You choose the team, the India century, because of Prime Minister Modi's third term, historic win. Now you know that the last 10 years, the previous 2 terms, will be leveraged as a springboard to take India forward into her century. But the rest of the world too. The global South looks to India for leadership, trusts in India's leadership. As a matter of fact, if there's anybody, any country that can sort out today's problems, it is India. Economic problems. The world looks to India as a market. The COVID pandemic, the world looked to India for vaccines and medicine. Even Russia and Ukraine. If there's any person who can sort it out, I do believe it is Prime Minister Modi. And therefore, India's century. And the main ingredient of your theme, I do believe, is leadership across the board, including your diaspora, but especially that of Prime Minister Modi.
And when you talk about the leadership of the Prime Minister, and Prime Minister, of course, has very assiduously championed the causes of Global South on various multilateral platforms, and he has been trying to build that consensus. The world, in a way, also looks towards India to solve some of the very vexed issues right now, some of the vexed issues like wars that the world is facing. You think that India can bring in its diplomatic, cultural heft into play to find solutions to them?
Like I mentioned, the Global South looks to India's leadership because they trust India's leadership. I mentioned about geopolitics and problems the world is facing, particularly in terms of war, and the effect that has throughout the world. If any country can sort it out, it is India. If any person that can sort out the problems between Russia and Ukraine, it is Prime Minister Modi. So whether it is economic growth, medicine, the world's production house, IT, PM Modi mentioned double AI this morning. Aspirational India, artificial intelligence, even climate change. India is exercising leadership. being a role model for the world. 1.5 billion people in a growing economy. You need energy to fuel that growth. There is going to be pollution. But India is also not shirking her responsibility to fight climate change. Prime Minister Modi has launched a solar alliance. That shows his emphasis for renewable energy, not just in India, but getting like-minded countries throughout the world to join an alliance to produce renewable energy. And we are a part of that alliance. So yes, even with climate change.
Now, coming back to your home turf, you have just now recently launched the Global Happiness Index 2. How does it differ from the Global Happiness Index 1? And what does this gross happiness index actually mean for people?
So very quickly, gross national happiness is a development philosophy. And it was a development philosophy that was envisioned by His Majesty the Fourth King. It is a development philosophy that emphasizes the happiness and well-being of our people as the core purpose for growth. And so gross national happiness recognizes that economic growth is important. There's no doubt about that. But that economic growth must be balanced with social progress, with environmental sustainability, cultural preservation, and good governance. So that is gross national happiness. Even today, many economists, public service leaders, scholars, they are fascinated by the idea. Even today, they feel that it is relevant to them. And so we have measured gross national happiness. That is the GNH index.
Yes.
So over every 5 years, we measure it. And the purpose is not to measure the happiness of the people. It is to measure the gross national happiness of the country. GNH situation of the country as measured by what people perceive, how people perceive it to be. So we have 9 domains that we measure. Health, education, living standard, environment, governance, then time use, psychological well-being, culture, community. These 9 domains are measured. They're divided into 33 variables, subdivided into 150 questions, and that questionnaire is rolled out in a survey every 5 years. You can imagine how difficult it is to collect the material, analyze the material, and then we come up with an index. For instance, 0.756. So every 5 years, that index has been increasing slightly, indicating that the gross national happiness of the country is increasing slightly. A good trend. But that does not mean that we are the happiest people in the world. You mentioned that something about me being happy, and yes, I am happy, and I'm happy to be here and among friends, and so you see me smile a lot, but we do have our challenges. And we are fortunate to have enlightened kings who have given us a balance between sustainable and equitable economic growth and everything else that matters in life. So what is GNH 2.0 you mentioned?
Yes.
So GNH is a development philosophy that we continue to implement. We strive to optimize the conditions of gross national happiness. GNH 2.0 is something that I thought of as taking GNH to the next level on 2 fronts. One is economic growth, and the other is urban living. And together, GNH 2.0 is basically an articulation, my description of His Majesty the King's royal vision, which is the Gelephu Mindfulness City. The Gelephu Mindfulness City.
Yes, that's another issue that I wanted to talk to you about, the mindfulness, which the king has recently launched.
Not an issue. You want to learn more about the Gelephu Mindfulness City, because I say not an issue because you will benefit from the Gelephu Mindfulness City as much as I will. The Gelephu Mindfulness City is a special administrative region which will have independence in government, in lawmaking, and judiciary independence. The Gelephu Mindfulness City is going to be a city, we call it a city, but it's going to be spread over 2,500 odd square kilometers. It has 2 protected areas, a national park and a wildlife sanctuary. It has rivers that can generate 4,000, 5,000 megawatts of renewable energy. It has forests, it has biological corridors, it's teeming with wildlife. It has paddy fields, it has an old little town. So that whole area is being developed and envisioned by His Majesty the King to provide for our next generation, to take gross national happiness to the next level, where people can live in harmony with other people from all over the world. But also, all these people will live in harmony with our nature and with our biodiversity. This is gross national happiness 2.0. I say it'll benefit you and all of India as much as it'll benefit me and all of Bhutan, because this city has been purposely placed on the border with India, along the border with India, Assam to be precise. I had reported to His Majesty the King almost a year ago, Your Majesty, why in Gelephu? It's beautiful. The land is pristine. It's a biological hotspot. There's potential for renewable energy. But why Gelephu? Why not in Thimphu? Why not in Paro? Why not in Pumtang? For those of you who have been to Bhutan, these places already have airports. Paro already has an international airport. Paro has the iconic Tshering, where tourists all over the world converge to visit. Paro has zongs and monasteries and culture and traditional way of life. It has everything. And His Majesty's answer was one word to me: India. Of course, I didn't understand it. And then His Majesty said, our future is linked with India. If we establish the special administrative zone anywhere else, it may succeed. It may find it challenging, we may find it challenging, but if we locate it along the border with India, the concept alone will drive its success, because our future is intrinsically linked with India. And then I understood that the Gelephu Mindfulness City is not about Bhutan. It is about India and Bhutan.
India and Bhutan.
And we have received the support of India's leadership, especially Prime Minister Modi. We received the support of Indian investors. A lot of them are interested. And of course, the Bhutanese, we are very excited to see this project to fruition.
Prime Minister, I'll come back to this issue of the development partnership. India, of course, and Bhutanese have always considered us as the largest, the biggest developmental partner. So one is this Mindfulness City project that you have now said that it is linked to India intrinsically, as you describe it. What are the other key developmental areas where India and Bhutan are now working together to take this developmental partnership to the next level?
What you call development partnership, I call friendship. We have many development partners, many countries, many multilateral agencies. We have one main friend. India has been with us. The Mindfulness City is one area that we are already working very closely with India. I can see us working even more closely with India. But other areas are our 13th five-year plan. For the 13th five-year plan, the government of India is giving us an assistance package of 8,500 crore rupees. Extremely generous. Almost double that of what we received in the 12th five-year plan. This is going to finance much needed infrastructure. Roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, IT, and the like. In addition to that, the Indian government has rolled out an economic stimulus program. Well, you talk of development partnership, what I call friendship.
Yes.
Yeah. So you think of this friendship.
Friendship is a better word.
When I visited India after our elections, I told the Indian leadership, and in particular I told my brother,
Yes.
Prime Minister Modi, I said, our economy is not growing after the COVID. So we put together an economic stimulus program. And he said, how much? I said, our entire economic stimulus program is 1,500 crores. And he's given us the whole package. That's what friendship is about. And so that's the other partnership, what you mentioned. The 12th five-year plan, in addition to the Gelephu Mindfulness City, the 12th five-year plan, the economic stimulus program, and then even bigger than that is our partnership in the area of renewable energy. We have about 30,000 megawatts, 30 gigawatts of hydroelectric potential. Of that, we've already tapped about 2,500 megawatts. Literally all of them with partnership with India, in partnership with India. This year, we're going to inaugurate another 1,020 megawatts, again in partnership with India. In the next 5 years, we're looking forward to launching almost 2,000 megawatts of new projects, all with the partnership of India. And then going forward, we have many more projects in the pipeline, in partnership with the government of India, but also now in partnership with the private sector of India, which leads me to the next area of partnership, which is partnership between people to people, business to business, and our partnership with the Indian business sector. The final partnership area, you can't call it final, but final big important partnership area is climate change. So from Solar Alliance to protecting our forests and biodiversity, to even looking after the big cats, an alliance of big cats, we work closely with the government of India.
And Prime Minister, when you talk of the people-to-people alliance, for any relationship to blossom, flourish, that is probably the most important alliance that finally should take it to the level that a relationship needs to achieve.
Yes, I agree.
And you think that there's enough people-to-people contact, or there is scope for further bolstering that?
Well, we enjoy some of the best people-to-people contact. Like I said, I was born in India. I spent my first 11 years studying in India. And I've been to India many times. And I am not an outlier. There are many Bhutanese, especially even those among my friends who have joined me in Delhi today, who studied in India, who grew up in India, who have many friends in India. When we travel across Bhutan, we don't hesitate to visit neighboring India, the neighboring towns. We don't hesitate to do a little bit of shopping there. So my wife right now is building a home. And she spends half her time in Siliguri, in West Bengal, because that's where she buys most of her stuff from.
Shopping.
Yes.
Shopping.
And truth be told, she does not really have to go there too often, because she telephones her friends in Siliguri, and her friends are the shopkeepers, and they send up the stuff. So you talk of people-to-people contact. I mean, it is very, very strong.
And
India is a country of 140 crores. Can't expect every Indian to know about Bhutan. Bhutan is a country of only 750,000 people. You rest assured, from the days of Lord Buddha, we were aware of India. And we reached out to India, those days for pilgrimage and spirituality. Today, we continue to go on many pilgrimages to India, but also now to see our economic growth.
And my final question to you, Prime Minister, is that, after this, I'm told you are city hopping and, you're going to visit various places. What is it that you have in your mind that you wish to probably focus on, see, watch? the way the city is evolving, the national capital?
Well, I looked out from my room and I see this park. It's like a forest. And every time I see it, I'm amazed that in one of the most congested cities of the world, so-called polluted cities of the world, you see a forest in the center of the city. And I can't get enough of this. The greenery, especially in New Delhi, I enjoy seeing this. But what you are referring to is my bus ride that I'm going to go on immediately after this. We are going to go on a bus that's driven by hydrogen fuel. And I'm really, really excited because this is the new, not just the new future, but the new India, to use renewable fuels to even drive transport. And not just to drive transport, but to be the world's leader in this cutting edge of technology. So I know that when I get on this bus, it's just going to be like any other bus. And therein lies the beauty of it. Because hydrogen fuel, not diesel, not petrol, not even electricity, is driving. Hydrogen is what's driving this bus. And the more ordinary it is, the more amazing I am going to feel. What's its link to Bhutan? The less pollution there is in India, the less pollution we have to endure. Because most of our air, in fact all of it, comes through India, from the Indian subcontinent into Bhutan. And yes, we do bear the brunt of not just climate change, but also of pollution. And I am in a hurry to see India become an advanced nation. I am in a hurry for many reasons, not least of which is because you are my friends, but also because when you become advanced, automatically the air pollution is going to drop and we will enjoy even cleaner air. And so the bus ride is going to be highly symbolic for me on that front, but equally important, we hope to be able to manufacture green, renewable hydrogen for India using our hydropower energy, using green electricity from our hydropower. So no matter how you look at it, this may be India's century, but you can't avoid us. We are in it together.
We are in this ride together. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for sparing the time. And again, thanks a lot from the millions of NDTV viewers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.